What do you believe in as an exercise professional? What do you believe in general? Do you take a cynical view of the world and what's possible? Or do you take an optimistic and ambitious view of what's possible based on what human beings have achieved throughout history? Because for my money, if I know something or if I believe something, I believe this. Fitness professionals around the world, the vast majority of them, hold self-limiting beliefs of what's possible to achieve with their clients in 12 weeks or regardless, any period of time, okay? They firmly believe that there's limits to what can be done realistically. And while those limits may exist, the ceiling for what is possible is often infinitely higher than what most people impose upon themselves and by extension impose upon their clients, and it's hurting the results. That's 100% true. Everybody's underachieving. The vast majority anyway are underachieving in terms of results, not just aesthetically, but also in terms of performance, power, strength, speed, muscle gain, fat loss, aerobic and anaerobic endurance, flexibility, mobility, you name it, everything. You're underachieving because your general global holistic view is inhibited and socialized into believing that you should accept less, that less is possible and they should be more realistic. And the fact of the matter is that most fitness programs don't work, and the people who are stuck on them end up wasting hours of their life and hours of their time in the gym with very little to show for their wasted efforts at the end of the day. But the personal trainers who've taken them through it can't be fully to blame for this, because the certifications that put them in that position only really taught them theory on how to be good at certain things that may or may not actually apply to anything that's going to benefit them in their career. As a matter of fact, one of the things that they failed to provide quite spectacularly, which is astounding because possibly the most important thing that they could provide, the personal trainer embarking on a career in the fitness industry, is a clear and direct path towards creating significant transformational change in their clients, because that's what everybody wants. That's what everybody truly wants. And there's no clear path to it in all these personal training certifications. And thus, as a knock-on effect of that, there's no clear path to establishing a full-time career and a professional income in the fitness industry. But for me, all this is a product of the wrong perspective on what's possible. Well, how is that the case? Well, because when the bar is set low from day one, even before you've become professionally certified, when you've been brainwashed by magazines and brainwashed by general popular physical culture dogma, right, into believing that there are quite severe limitations on your genetic potential and what you can do in certain time periods and what your body is capable of, then everything after that is a knock-on effect. You're conditioning yourself slowly over the years to be in a prime position to accept less as more, okay? So therefore, these certifications shouldn't be providing more, because what I'm asking them to provide here isn't really possible. It's not really possible to create significant transformational change in a really short space of time with every single client, every single time. And by significant change, I mean building significant amounts of muscle and losing significant amounts of fat simultaneously, while also simultaneously getting significantly stronger and cardiovascularly fitter, both aerobically and anaerobically, simultaneously. You're taught from day one that all of this is impossible, okay, to do to any significant degree simultaneously. So therefore, you're willing to accept less. And where does all this start? Well, for me, it starts with the bodybuilding magazine, and where most people come into the physical pop culture ladder. They come in right at that insertion point with fitness and bodybuilding magazines, usually in their adolescence. And these magazines have a pattern. And once you start seeing that pattern, you can't unsee it, because they just repeat it over and over and over again, and it becomes very obvious and it sticks out. Once you step out of the matrix, you start to see the code where you used to see the buildings. And that pattern kind of looks something like this. For a start, they're targeting specific demographics. And usually if that demographic has some sort of personal insecurity based problem, it's a bonus point. They find what problem you have, they drive a spear through it, and then they present themselves as a solution. And the solution that they present is usually in the form of some sort of arbitrary, random training program with the face of a star bodybuilder attached to it. Oftentimes this isn't even a routine that that bodybuilder uses regularly or has ever used, okay? But the purpose of this is to catch beginners and intermediates at certain levels. Because the thing about changing your training frequently is you're going to get a bit of a hit and a bit of a result immediately from doing something that's just variety based. You'll make a bit of progress, but that progress will stall because there's no better idea than variety for the sake of variety. So then the next trick that you'll see in the magazine after the novelty based routine is convincing the person, the reader themselves, that it's their fault that they're not progressing any further. It's you, it's your genetics, it's even your ancestors' fault. Choose your parents wisely. You know, there's things that are outside of your control, there's things that are outside of our control. You can't be one of the genetic superhumans like the bodybuilders in this book. Nobody ever talks about the huge amounts of chemical enhancement and the decades worth of consistent chemical enhancement and intelligent training and diet that's went into making those super physiques. Yes, it's a product of incredible genetics that maybe the reader doesn't have, but there's more to it than that. And setting the bar so low for them and giving them variety-based routines, it's a constant loop of catch beginners, give them a variety-based routine that gets them a small amount of progress for a short period of time, and then when the progress inevitably stops because there's no better idea, tell them it's their fault, and then present them with a third solution. And that's the third thing that happens that you'll spot in all these magazines over and over again, reoccurring over the course of months and years. They cycle the same routines, they cycle the same old routine, okay? Variety program, blaming you and your parents and your genetics, and then presenting a third party solution, which is where they make most of their money in these magazines, because every other page is an advert. An advert for what? Supplements. An advert for supplements, advert for personal training certifications, you name it. So now they've managed to pass the buck to a third party as well. So you take these supplements and maybe get some sort of small either ergogenic aid from it or a placebo effect, and there's a small amount of progress and then that stops working. Well, that wasn't their fault anyway, because it was a third party, it was the supplement company who were selling you this product. So it's just this cycle that keeps going round and round and propagated over and over again. And this becomes etched in the psyche of all these young people coming up in the fitness industry. So by the time they get to the certification stage, where they're wanting to become certified and move professionally into this industry going forward, they've been mentally conditioned, entirely unintentionally, but without a question, they've been mentally conditioned to accept less. You should never accept less, okay? Boundaries are constantly being broken. In strength and fitness and other ways, we don't have to look no further than sport, okay? If the human being has proven one thing, it's that records are made to be broken, and that while there logically should be a limit to human performance, we haven't found it yet, and we keep edging the boundaries upward and upward and upward, and who knows where that can stop. Who knows what the absolute capacity for the fastest 100 meters or the fastest mile ever will be. But one thing's for certain, without men like Roger Bannister, who was a medical student and flew in the face of the then commonly held fact that to run faster than 4 minutes for a mile would potentially cause death or severe injury to the individual doing it. It was physiologically impossible, according to the experts at the time. Bannister knew this wasn't the case, put together an intelligent training program based on maths and progression to be able to get there, and was able to do it. And once he did that, the floodgates opened. And before too long, 10 men had done it, and 20 men, and so on and so forth. And the 4 minute mile count now is over 100. Don't let anybody else put a limit on what you can achieve with your clients in 12 weeks, because I'm here to tell you, can you build muscle and lose fat at the same time? And can you do it in 12 weeks? That's a good question. You absolutely can. Can you build huge amounts of strength and create significant change in cardiovascular performance? You absolutely can. Can you do this all in 12 weeks? You absolutely can. And you don't have to take my word for it. You don't even have to do the A12 certification or the A12 program either. All you have to do is keep an open mind, look at the thousands of transformations, and look at their bodies. Look at their bodies with your educated eye that's been around the fitness industry, that's trained in gyms, that's built muscle and lost fat yourself and with your clients. Look at their bodies. Have they built significant muscle? Have they lost significant fat? And then wrap your head around the fact that this happened in 12 weeks. So there was no time for a building cycle and a cutting cycle and an extended period of training. This was a concurrent training program that was achieving several things at once. It had to be. And the only way to achieve those two things at once, significant muscle building and significant fat loss, is to create significant and quite profound numeric improvements in strength for reps and cardiovascular performance, both aerobically and anaerobically. Fact. There is no other way to achieve that physiologically. Okay? And simply by using your eyes, keeping an open mind, and being objective, you can look at these pictures and see the pattern. Don't be brainwashed, open your mind and actually look at the results. You can't help but see bigger muscles. And by the way, if you're seeing bigger muscles and less fat, then the muscles have got even bigger. If someone has body fat covering their musculature, the musculature appears bigger because it's wearing a fat coat, if you know what I mean. It's like putting layers of clothing on and appearing bigger. It's not actually the muscle underneath it. It's just supporting the outward shape of the fat that's covering it. So if you remove that fat, you should look smaller, not bigger. So if you look bigger and leaner, then how much muscle is that's being built while fat has obviously been lost at the same time? Because there is only 12 weeks and it's happened thousands of times. So can significant muscle and fat be lost at the same time? Yes. Can you make significant strength gains and significant improvement in cardiovascular fitness simultaneously? Yes, because you couldn't do the first thing without achieving it through the second thing. Okay? Can you build more muscle and more strength from a program that focuses only on that without the fat loss element? Yes. Can you build more cardiovascular fitness without a program that focuses on also getting muscularly bigger and creating muscular hypertrophy simultaneously? Yes. But most of the specialization programs for either of those two qualities that are out there now masquerading as decent programs, in my opinion, are far from optimal at instigating both of those outcomes. So what you may not know right now that is achievable is to configure the mathematics around that situation in such a way that you can create more muscle growth in less time and more fat loss in less time and a higher increase in cardiovascular performance in less time simultaneously than any of those specialization programs or some of the decent specialization programs that are out there can do in singularity and isolation. Okay? So that's a big statement. It's also 100% accurate, because if it wasn't, the A12 wouldn't be able to produce the results that it does. But it does, and it has done for nearly 15 years all around the world for thousands of people at this point. So I can say this with great confidence because I know it like I know gravity exists and I know Tuesday follows Monday. Muscle can be built and fat can be lost in significant amounts simultaneously.